I have had the time to ponder and to think. We've got to be more concerned about the country, the Senate, the state of Nevada, than us. And as a result of that, I'm not going to run for re-election. My friend Senator McConnell, don't be too elated. I'm going to be here for 22 months.
Very interesting, right? Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid not going to seek re-election next year. And this signals the end of an era, undoubtedly. 30 years since his congressional career began. He was first elected to the House in 1982. He won his Senate seat in 1986. He became Majority Leader in 2007. This past year, though, brought him some difficulties. He is still recovering from a January exercise accident that happened at his home. He says, though, that his decision is not due to those injuries, or, he points out in this YouTube video, it says not due to the demotion that he got to Minority Leader after the midterms and the Republican takeover of Congress. So let's talk about what this all really means. Attorney General. No, you're not the Attorney General, but maybe someday. Attorney Jessica Ehrlich, a Democrat who ran for Congress, and GOP communications expert Adam Goodman, principal of the Victory Group. Welcome to both of you, Jessica and Adam. Good to have you both here.
Good morning.
You know, when you look at this, and I'm particularly interested, Jessica, in the phrase that we just played at the top of that. You know, he says, we realize that it's time to think about the country, about the state of Nevada. And you think, well, what was he thinking about before all that?
Well, I think actually what he's referring to, which he's referenced in a few other little bits, is the amount of money that was spent in his last race for Senate and the amount that they're expected to spend again. They were expected to spend against him coming up in 2016. And he's already said that he really wants to prioritize some of these other seats we're going to see that are at play, like in Maryland, in my state of Florida. They're going to have in California, there are going to be some really big Senate races in very expensive states around the country. And, you know, he's definitely been a target. The Koch brothers spent a lot of money against him. People have gone after him. And I think he's really sort of looking at a way that they can take back the Senate majority.
Very interesting. What do you think about that theory, Adam?
Well, you know, Harry used to be head of the Nevada Gaming Commission. So he probably knows the meaning of these words more than anybody. You have to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And this was time to fold them. He was, as Jessica said, looking at a very, very tough re-election fight, not just in terms of resources, but actually winning. And more than anything else today, Americans are looking for leadership that's fresh. And he doesn't fit that look. And neither does, frankly, Nancy Pelosi. It's already rumored that she's looking for her successor as head of the Democrats in the House. Or you might argue Hillary Clinton. I think at a time when people were at high levels of distress, what's going on and not going on in Washington, we're looking for something different, and Harry isn't that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, you know, across the board. What about Nancy Pelosi? Is it time for her to go, Jessica? Would you like to see some fresh blood on the Democratic side on the Hill? We all know what the approval numbers look like for all these folks across the board.
Yeah. I think it would be, you know, really exciting, actually. I mean, with the Senate, it'll be interesting to see, especially because if you talk about not only Pelosi, but also with Harry Reid, you're talking about the West Coast. And really, there's been this dominant leadership from California and Nevada and from the West Coast. And, you know, one of the main contenders to take over for Harry Reid is Chuck Schumer from New York. It would be a very interesting shift to see some of these folks that are more, you know, from the East Coast, from, you know, the Midwest and things like that, having a little more of the leadership roles. Certainly in the House, you're looking at someone like Joe Crowley from New York. I mean, there could be,
do you think
know,
that they
really
would be more open
shift.
to moving legislation? Because one of the things that Harry Reid has been criticized for quite a bit is that, you know, the bills just sat on his desk, that he wouldn't bring things to the floor, and that he really sort of, you know, gummed up the wheels of progress in the House, in the Senate, rather.
Well, I mean, you know, there were a lot of conflicts on, you know, those bills that he quote-unquote gummed up. I mean, for him, he thought he was doing what he needed to do, and actually he was able to really consolidate Democrats, and that's definitely something going forward. I think, you know, will the next leader of the Senate be able to keep the Democratic coalition as it's been right now, which is very strong, and I think surprisingly even for McConnell, will that be able to continue, you know, post-2016? Yeah. So it'll be really, you know, there'll be so many changes. We could have a lot of new members in the Senate. We could have a lot of younger members in the Senate. I mean, mean, the contenders and folks that are running in all of these states are, much more sort of in our age range than in the over 70 age range. And I think that will also be a very interesting dynamic going forward.
We'll see if we can get back to the days when people used to reach across the aisle a little bit more. Adam, thank you very much. Jessica, thanks to you too. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.